Hi, everybody. Thanks for staying this late. I saw a lot of faces, and we're familiar. We're all in the same space for a while. I was speaking in Helsinki, Pocket Gamer or Blockchain Gamer in Helsinki, and then that was in September, right? You were on my panel in Nordic Game. You were on my panel in Helsinki. And Francis is the first time here. So I'm going to have my panelists do a really quick introduction. Self, what you invested, and he's investor. Francis is actually doing the hard work so we can figure out how to invest in you. And I'm with Doggy. It's not a dog, and we're not the token issuer of Doggy. It's a discovery of game innovations. We're building a platform to host crypto games. It's sort of like a Google Play. Before Google takes over, we're going to build this platform. But we have changed because the title of today is how do we survive the downturns? Because we all know the market is not very pleasant right now. So, which actually is good in a way, because it forces everybody to bear. Every blockchain game friends that I've been talking to, everybody say, yeah, we just have to bury our head down and then enhance our product. So we are doing exactly the same thing. Tighten up of our belt and figure out how do we survive this. I am personally very bullish about the crypto games because it's just another format of game, just like PC game, mobile game. Who would have thought that mobile game will be that big, right? Everybody say, oh, blockchain game, it's so hard, for the payment, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, in the beginning of mobile game, who would have thought that somebody will pay to play a game on a phone that you're supposed to make a call only, right? So people are doing that, and I think it's going to grow bigger. Some of the new generations, and they're not even going to be knowing what's the difference, using digital wallet, digital payment. It's going to be like natural eating, drinking milk in the morning. So this is a time we are trying to all figure out and get through the difficulties of these technical challenges, right? Setting up the wallet, and like earlier speaker says, how do you make it so transparent that people don't talk about blockchain? And then he's got some good point, but I'm not too sure if we need to hide under the curtain, because that's a way to go in the future. So Doggy has also an angle. We are hosting for the pre-sale for the crypto games. We are also have the investment angle, because we have reached to the capital in China, and myself in Silicon Valley. But we are pivoting as well recently, that we got an angle that we want to help the Western and Eastern in China, the information, sharing the information and knowledge, and how are the blockchain game developers in China. And there are many, and they are all just like really quick ramping up. How are they doing? What's the situation? And sure, there are a lot of crappy games, but there are some good games as well. And how are the Western developers, and they, we just heard Villa and some of the developers, how are they doing with their games and what they can share? So we want to be in the bridge. And then we are focusing only on the blockchain gaming because there are a ton of media. They're focusing on everything related to blockchain. I want to focus on blockchain game only. So with this, I really would like to the audience to participate, okay? Ask questions. So after this quick round of self-introduction, we actually going to open the floor for everybody to ask questions so that we can address your concerns and your skepticism. Let's see what we can just get the best knowledge out to everybody, and by sharing, okay? And so, Junie.
Hi, I'm Junie Koo. I'm a partner at Block Crafters Capital, which is a crypto fund. We have a separate entity which is an accelerator and covers crypto media in South Korea as well. So we've the whole organization started like last year around. We've been looking into this space for a few months, and then we started to build up the fund and the whole business around it starting from last year, January. And things were set up in March and May. So when everyone was saying, hey, things are going down, we started everything. So it was quite a ride for the last year.
Yeah, this is a good time for the investors, right? You get to cherry picking and there was a lower price. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, because back in 2017, some companies got 200, 300 million immediately.
Right.
But we didn't believe that development costs takes like 300 million, right? Especially for the startups.
Right.
And then right now the funding round for the startups are very optimized, and average like a couple of million. It's very light price for the initial development. So investor standpoint, it's really right timing to invest. Although everyone says it's a downtrend, but it's good timing, I think.
Yeah, for the investors, right?
But we strongly believe blockchain technology is going to be the future.
Okay, I know you used to invest a lot in VR.
Yes.
So in comparison,
technologies. Let me do my introduction. Hello, I'm Nogi from Gumi. So Gumi is a public trading mobile gaming company based in Japan. But I'm based in San Francisco, and I'm in charge of the global business. And then, like Shirley said, we are heavily involved in AR/VR space past 3 years, and we have already invested more than 100 AR/VR companies. And then since 2017, we also jumped into the crypto space, and we established a fund called Gumi Cryptos. That's a $30 million US size fund. We're targeting early stage investment. We have already invested 10 companies at the moment. And then we didn't invest blockchain gaming company, but recently finally invested first blockchain gaming company, a game called My Crypto Heroes. That game is constantly reached the #1 the operator.
Okay.
And then I just had a meeting with them, then we can share some data and then why they become successful.
Terrific. Yeah. So you recently invested in My Crypto Heroes, right? And that's a game. And you mentioned that you invested in EOS Knight. Right?
So we did not invest in them. We're actually building up we're advising them on building up everything because I'll share the data later after the introduction, but there's a lot of interesting things. So.
Yeah. Okay, you're the only one really building the games. Okay, go ahead.
Hello everyone, I'm Francis Peng from the Infunds, and we now build a war strategy games called the Imperial Thrones. And we start our company in the last year, May. The market is very good. And then when we start building the games, the marketing goes down, and we found there is a problem because in our games we distribute tokens. In this time, if we release tokens, and if no one buy the tokens, the value goes down. So we have changed our plans. So our current plan is for the Imperial Thrones. Our current plan is we will build a small game first, and when we release maybe 10% of our tokens first, and then later, if the market goes better, so we will release Imperial Throne because it's a distribution system in our core systems. Yeah.
So you're staging the size of your game by scaling gradually, right? And then there's to adapt to the market situation, right? Yeah. So I know these guys back in China Joy in Shanghai last year, and I was introduced to them by my friends in Tencent. So the three co-founders the company name is called Infund Game, but the blockchain game is called Imperial Throne. And some of you guys that stay earlier see the high quality because the three of them came from the core team in Tencent. The most profitable mobile games of Tencent. It's called Royal King or King Royal.
The value of glory.
Yeah. So these guys know how to build the core of a very profitable mobile games, user acquisition and the economy of that, engaging the users. And when I talked to them, they explained their token economics to me, because the three of them actually study the finance and token economics for a whole year. And I just thought the quality was awesome. The token economics they figure out, which is just brilliant. So I think that blockchain game, crypto games, it's going to go that way. Everybody say blockchain just crabby, crypto game is fun. And it's a niche. I think one of the speakers said it was going to be a niche. So a lot of gamers will really want to see the gameplay. So this is a strategy game. It's almost like a mid-core game, right? Yeah. So it's the quality is very good. The complex system of the token economics is also there. So it's very interesting. But we were talking earlier, about the market downturn and how they pivot to adapt to this downturn and then waiting for it to come up, right? So you can share some of the, a little bit detail how you scaled it up. And so back to Junie, you want to talk about the game that, or either one of you, and share some of the information.
So I met up with the development team that was building EOS Night, which is constantly number one when it comes to DAU and transaction on DEP Radar for the last 6-7 months. And like if you take away all the gambling apps, it's definitely number one DApp on EOS. And they've been generating revenue from day one, and they've never done an ICO either. So at this point, they're making about 200,000 transactions on a daily basis. They have about 3,000 DAUs. They're generating $70,000 on a monthly basis when the EOS has dropped with all the other coin prices to what it is right now. So back in the days when the prices of EOS was higher, it used to generate up to $200,000 a month. And it's a game that's 100% on chain. So everything that's going around in the game is written on the EOS blockchain. The reason why they did this is not because the fundamental of it is they wanted to build a blockchain game and try experimenting different pillars of what the EOS EOS had to provide. So they're like looking into the smart contracts, like every element of blockchain gaming, and they were experimenting around it. And well, they were one of the first completely on-chain game. And the findings they are having is they have retention of about 60%, and that doesn't churn over time. And what they're finding is, like, if they compare, it's a turn-based RPG, and I've been in games for about 13 years. I was head of global business at Come2Us, so I know quite some data coming from these mobile games, and usually you don't get a D30 of anything above 20% with one of the best games in the world, right? Usually, if it's 10%, then that's great. But these guys are, going from 30% to 60%, depending on what the time frame is. And the main difference is the marketplace that they have. The game resonates around the marketplace, and the users are they're crafting items with materials they find within the game that are dropped, and all of it is written on the blockchain. And there's a marketplace where users can trade these materials or the items that they craft. So when there's a lot of marketplaces projects on the blockchain that are saying, hey, let's sell these items, these guys are reversing that. It's like, we're not going to build a marketplace, which we have a game with a marketplace, and we're proving the case that the marketplace is important, and especially when it's on the blockchain, it gives a marketplace for the users where they can securely and in a trustless manner share their sell and buy items on it, and that is keeping the retention up. So they're gearing towards their next game, which also is going to resonate around a marketplace. So I mean, I don't know if that marketplace is going to become a platform in the end, and maybe they can do an ICO around it in the end. But at this point, they don't need to, and they just can build a game, and it's making enough money to sustain them. So yeah.
So that's what you're looking into. You know, investors always say they're looking into the team, their experiences, and their track record, and then whether they have sustainable business model, right? And then at this downturn time, and then everybody asks, oh, what is your business model? You know, I have to say, can we talk about next stage kind of things, right? But you also have to adapt to your valuations of the team, correct?
Yep.
Because that business model is being shifted, right? You have to look at the number. What about you, Nogi?
So, okay. So in terms of my crypto heroes, they launched about 2 months right now.
Okay.
And then they
On what? On US or Ethereum?
global.
Ethereum.
It's Ethereum.
Okay. Okay.
And their total number of users now reached 20,000. But their DAU is actually about 6,000 right now. It's quite high retention rate as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and then I asked them why that game is going well right now, and they talk about like development concept. Because I also say that like AR, VR, everything, the developer have to make the device first game or platform first game.
Right.
Yeah, don't just convert existing game to the new platform because
Right,
it
right.
totally doesn't make sense.
Right.
And they also have the same concept. And then they also find out still blockchain is the transaction is very slow. And then their focus is more like UX, make a very efficient. And that's why they well designed on-chain, side-chain, and then off-chain side, they just divide it. They depend on the functions.
Okay.
And then try to make it the game so fast. That's
Right,
why
right,
users
okay.
comfortably play the game. That's why just,
Right.
it's actually also turn-based game and then RPG. That's why it's kind of tough game. It's a quick game, but still, user can see the progress so fast. And then the user can just earn the, Ethereum, very fast. That's why user keep playing game. And also, as long as they make an effort, time, they have their own asset. And then potentially they can sell.
Yeah.
They made this cycle. Of course, their basic concept for the game design is more like a token economics first.
Right. Right.
And then they combine UX side. That's a main
Make
reason.
it more playable. Yeah. Okay. I know some of the developers, the crypto game developers, they got so sophisticated, and they know the big hurdle is for the converting a user, a non-crypto holder, currency holders, to a new, having to set up a wallet and that kind of stuff. So some of the game developers actually spend the effort inventing or developing their own native, for example, mobile payment, because there wasn't any 6 months ago or 5 months ago. And then they found out that can be a good tool to share with other developers or even, sell as part of the package or something like that. So there was that trend also, because developers want to get rid of all the obstacle, and they can't rely on, every blockchain that they have to work with, right? This is sort of like the Android mobile games in China. You're so fragmented that you have so many platforms. So developers, for example, you work with Ethereum, Tron or whatever, Loom or something like that, and you have to maintain so many versions, and some of them you use their wallet, some of them you use other services, right? Francis, what about your experiences?
In this period.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we launch our NFTs in the last month, I think December, and we try different marketing strategies, like the way buy the advertise on different blockchain website, and but we found it's hard to convert people's. It's not like the traditional mobile games. in the traditional mobile games, you buy the ads on those websites and you get people into your games. And but on the blockchain side, it's different. We found the convert is very hard. So you spend money on those websites, but there's only a few people come to buy. And the most people buy your NFTs from your societies, from your Telegram groups or from your Twitters. And also we look at other reports about how they get users. It's very different compared to traditional mobile games. We look at data from the digital exchange marketings, and the user is directly to enter their website, or is from the influencers. The second big user is from the influencers. So I think the influencer is very important to get users in the blockchain business, because when we build a business, game business, I think it's very easy to make money from games. But the hardest thing is like in China, for now, if you want to get one user, you have to spend from $10 to $20 to get one user. So now the current problem is for gamers, it's very hard to get users, it's very expensive. So for the on the blockchain side, we need to find other ways, because it's very easy to use smart contract to build some systems, and the influencers they take people to play games, and you pay the influencer the tokens. So our plan is we try to build this kind of systems for the future to get more users in current times.
Yeah. And that's a good point. So, Doggy, we don't build the games. We're impartial. All the games that we host, whether they use this public chain or that public chain, it doesn't matter, whatever wallet they want to use. But we have pushed 2 games. And so from our experience, as I mentioned earlier when I was commenting, that we find out going through traditional channel, yes, the conversion rate is really, and instead of in mobile game 3%, I told people probably 0.333, 4050 is down there 3%. So we find out also through the influencer marketing, and what we decide that work out, that we find out 50% of conversion is we sort of penetrate the traditional or mobile game, MMORG or strategy games, that kind of community influencers, and then they can influence it. But the beauty of blockchain token economics is that you figure out a way with the token economics to incentivize these leaders, right? The guild, they're totally familiar with how to play this guild and follower games. But at the end of the day, these leaders also was looking for buck. They want to make some money. And if you are doing UA through them, they want to make sure they can make some money at the end of the day. So you have to share that economic games with them, and then everybody's kind of like a win-win situation. And like you said, otherwise the per user acquisition cost is very high, right? Mm-hmm.
I want to add some things. If you're familiar with game industries, you will find this each user have the lifetime. So no matter how complex the game is or how beautiful it is, the users always goes down. So the key point is how to get more users. Yeah.
Right. You still want to expand beyond the current crypto holders and to get more who don't have the currency, but make it easy for them to set up the wallet. And for example, in China, the Chinese players who want to set up the wallet, they have to go to OTC. So there's some agency, and we just basically direct them, say, hey, you go to ATC. And OTC or some exchange will absorb the volatility of the currency fluctuation there.
And now the environment changes. Player can buy the tokens from Huobi, no OTCs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you guys have figured that out?
No, the Huobi, the exchange.
Oh, Huobi. Huobi. Okay, yeah. And what do you guys think?
So
Because you have to figure out the team you build or the team you invest, right? What's their burn rate, how much they're going to cost for the LTV. Same thing. All these terms apply to blockchain games as well.
So when it comes to investments, I mean, like I'm coming from games and I've turned into an investor like a year ago, and what that means is all these blockchain game related projects are basically approaching me saying, man, you should know that this is, worth something. And I look at them and I've probably rejected 99%. And the reason is it's exactly the same how in this mobile games market where everything is saturated, it doesn't matter how good the game is, you look into it and like it's not gonna be the Clash of Clans back in the days. I mean, I'm skeptic if Clash of Clans came out right now, would they be as big as what they are? And I'm kind of skeptic, right? And when I'm looking into blockchain games, and yes, I mean, like if you're an early blockchain game project or an ICO project, and you have all these, and when the market's great and it's selling, it works. But like when I see that and see for a longer term period, I know that the value in the bull market, the value that they're getting, which is basically future value, is not gonna sustain, right? And basically they're overvalued. And it's the same thing. It's like, yes, some games on blockchain can work, and maybe it's a marketing gig, right? And there are really well-made games, well, at least in the presentation of it, because I've never played that game before. And then you think like buying some items in that game will have a certain value. But from someone who has not played that game or just played a demo of it, buying any kind of token or NFT before getting engaged in the game, for me, is a risk. So for me, I would not invest in that. I would rather invest at a later stage. And like if you see all the most of the ICOs that are on the exchanges, I'm sure it's better. I mean, everyone now understands it's better to trade them on a secondary market rather than like participate in the ICOs, because most of the prices on the exchanges are lower than their ICO prices. Right? There are top 20 to 30 projects, I mean, and this is not games, that are doing much better than their ICO price. And the majority of it, they're lower than the ICO price. So why would I invest at an early stage, right? Unless you're like, you have strong belief in the team, strong belief you've played the games that these guys have made before, and you have such confidence that this game is going to be rock solid and great when it comes out. Unless it's that, there's no reason for a smart user to invest in the tokens or the NFTs before it comes out. I mean, that's kind of my approach to investments.
But there's also aspect in current market, and there are some of the games that are top on the EOS or DEP Radar's chart, and then some of the top ones, their valuation can be very high still because, hey, markets like this, we're still top of it, right? How do you look at those them? I mean, they are top on DEP Radar, number one, number two, gazillions of transactions going on.
So
would you be investing in that? Because their valuation is very high.
Right. I mean, but if a game is already on DEP Radar, which means they have enough they have users, they have transactions, they're probably making revenues as well. We'll look into that. We can play the game. There's enough information for us to evaluate that company, right? Or that product, or that team, or the results of what the efforts they've put in. So there's something that we can put a valuation on top of. Like for instance, EOS Knight, right? They can go to other investors. They are being approached by a lot of investors right now, and I get emails and telegrams from the CEO saying, hey, I'm meeting with them, I'm meeting with that, what should I say, blah, blah, blah. But they're being approached because they have revenue, they have transactions, they have DAU.
Sure.
It's statistically proven that they have some valuation, although the valuation itself is negotiable and debatable, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Nogi, what's your take on that?
Our approach is for the new industry, new technologies, is starting from investment.
Okay, so you started looking at a much earlier stage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because so we don't know that market technology, and we wanted to learn and through the portfolio companies. Yeah, and that's one thing. They also so blockchain-wise, we started investment, and then we already start running, and we also started our own blockchain project.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay.
That approach, and then investment standpoint, as you said, it's a too early stage, and that's why we are seeing more like a team. Yeah, and then that's it. That's about basic stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so you kind of like
Not the same as his
incubate
opinion.
your own,
Yeah.
own. Okay, as I promised, I want to open up the floor to any other questions. Feel free to ask. Anybody's got questions? Okay, so I have a case that I actually prepared some gift I'm going to throw away if you ask questions, whether you're smart question or dumb question.
I have a question.
Boom! Yes, Patrick, that's DEP Radar.
So when you approached by founders for funding, what is it that you've seen that you like the most over the last, let's say, 6 months since the markets have gone down?
That's very pointed questions.
Maybe the founder.
Yeah, the last 6 months, right? The market was already downturned. So when you look to invest, what kind of elements are you looking at this point?
So one is the team, and then the project-wise is how they maximize also use blockchain technologies
Okay.
better. Because like I said, many companies just copy the existing business and that's put in the blockchain. It
Okay.
totally doesn't make sense. What is the point to use the blockchain? Well, that's very
Right.
important.
Okay. So how you apply the technology core?
So this is like more of a personal opinion, and I just freely say these things within the company. But like the version I have for blockchain at this point is basically it's a very expensive database, and it's aiming to be in a situation where it's impossible to hack. That's what they want to be in. And at the same time, there's a controversy because it's storing data which is open to public. Everyone can know what's inside. So think of building a massive safe, and you know that everyone knows what's inside it, right? Then and at the same time, everyone knows what's inside it in a trustless manner, right? And that's my current version of blockchain at this point. And what fits into this is what I'm looking for. So, for instance, user-created content fits into this, right? Because if there's a platform that makes sense for the game and the users the users can create some content on top of it, the users will want the people who are engaged in this ecosystem, if they make a certain content for this larger platform, they want this content so that everyone in the ecosystem to know that it exists and they made it, and if it adds any value to the platform, they want something back from it, and that will be written on the smart contract. So from that aspect, user created content works. I think marketplace works as well, but at the same time, like proving that this is adding value or necessary in the industry is something that it's like the next level. So, if someone has an entry to marketplace or some user-created platform, and they are proving a case that there's a small viable market that has access to this, and the whole platform is working, then we'll definitely look into it much closer. I mean, the downturn, the bear market, doesn't allow us to invest as heavily as we want to. but that's the kind of angle.
Yeah, so it's a double edge of the sword, right? And Francis, I know you are fairly well funded in the early stage, right? So do your investor require you to pivot or to change some strategy? Do you get that from them, or you guys, figure out on your own? Do your investors say, hey, market downturn, you need to do da 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 da?
You mean the investors ask us to do some things, right?
Yeah.
Actually, no.
No? They let you have all the freedom?
Yeah,
to do
they
it. You
give
guys
us,
are
the
fairly
freedoms.
well funded so far, early stage, right?
Yeah, it's very early stage, but because the market is down, so we have to figure out how to make money, how to make more profit, and the key thing we found is how to get users. Because I think for game it's very easy to make money if the user play your games. You just look at the market and you can figure out the different business models, like the NFT business models, or you can from the transaction phase, like the US Lite. What's the business model is each the transactions they get maybe 2 or 1% fee from that. And also they use the marketing, in-game marketing to build the retentions for player to replay the games. So what I mean here is if you look into those different games, it's very easy to find the business models. But the hardest thing is how to get users.
Find the first threshold of massive, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Are we out of time? Sorry. Any other burning questions can come. Doggy has a booth and S32 right next PGC's booth, and if you come, you ask dumb or smart question, you get. Thank you so much. Thanks to our panelists.